Hello there, Star Wars fans. I want to quickly just touch upon the new Star Wars show, Skeleton Crew. It is just released with a 2-episode premiere on December 2nd, and the lead up to it is now over. And I want to share my thoughts on it. While I'm optimistic, I don't think this will save Star Wars by any means. I don't think anyone should get their hopes up for this show if you think it's going to save Star Wars, because there's no way to do that right now. However, there is some hope that this can continue to be fun and enjoyable, and hopefully a positive for the franchise. I do think we could get a small win here if it actually works. So before we go on, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss what's going on in your favorite galaxy far, far away. The basic synopsis of the show is that 4 children of the Mandoverse era will be going on a wild adventure in the galaxy and have to work their way back home to their quiet, normal planet. And we see after the first episode the adventure has already begun. It's said that this show is supposed to invoke Goonies vibes from the 80s. And so far, I think it's definitely hitting the Goonies vibe and the 80s children feel. Very nostalgic in that regard. A more kiddish tone and direction, but honestly, that's not a negative for me. If it's anything like the cult classic coming-of-age stories from that era, they're going to be a lot of fun for kids, but plenty of us as adults to latch onto and enjoy. This series will take place after Return of the Jedi before Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It'll tie into what the fans call the Mandoverse. This is from our more recent shows taking place after Return of the Jedi, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. It's not just clear if this takes place before or after Ahsoka Season 1, so we don't know if Thrawn is back yet. All we know as of recently from Den of Geek is that this does take place after Mando Season 3, according to writer Chris Ford. And we get confirmation that this is in the era of the New Republic for the wider galaxy during the opening title card. The New Republic is active during this time, and also the Imperial Remnant is a threat to the galaxy. So there is plenty of controversy that can occur in this show if they do decide to cross paths with what's going on in that part of the galaxy, and the show clearly throws pirates as a main threat into the fray. In terms of characters, we know a little about our main cast and some side characters. First, the pirate Vane is in the show. We saw him in Mando Season 3 as he is part of the Pirate King Gorian Shard's crew, and was one of the few pilots who managed to escape Din Djarin and the other Mandalorians' attack when they went to rescue Navarro. Next is Jude Law's character, Jad Nawud. This character is shrouded in mystery. I believe he's the original captain of the pirates in the raid at the beginning of Episode 1, originally thought to be a Jedi. It's come out that he might just be a Force user or apparently something else entirely. They're keeping this mysterious. Some fans have pointed out that he has the same as a character named Jedi Nina Nawud. Potentially this could be his mother. Is he the son of a Jedi and therefore also Force sensitive? I'm excited to learn about him. And just quickly, our main cast of kids. We have Wim, a dreamer who yearns to leave his boring homeworld behind in favor of adventure and exploration, and a big fan of the Jedi. Fern, the daughter of the Undersecretary for All, who embodies both her mother's grace and the strength to stand up to those who do her and her friends wrong, taking her inspiration from Princess Leia Organa, and I think she definitely has those leadership traits. KB, Fern's best friend, known for her quieter demeanor and her contemplation. She seems to be the only one who will be the tech-knowledgeable friend in the group. I'll get to it shortly, but her look is also deliberate and potentially telling more about her abilities. And lastly, we have Neil, a loyal friend. Neil remains right by Wim's side, despite his own reservations about their circumstances. And it's been confirmed that he's not the same species as Max Rebo, so he's not Ortolan, but confirmed to be his own unnamed race at the moment. So far, while I'm pleasantly surprised with the 2 episodes and really enjoyed them, maybe on the surface level this show looks simple and harmless. I really want to express that I don't think this show will save Star Wars at all. And frankly, I'm not sure how good or bad this show's going to be in the end. I hope it's good and can be a great escape into a galaxy far, far away and really capture those 1980s vibes it seems to be going for. And so far it has. But let's be honest, this show was supposed to come out around this time last year. Delays, reshoots, etc. are not always the best sign when it comes to entertainment. Pair that with Star Wars TV shows as of late, and I think we have to be cautious with our expectations for the show. 2 episodes in doesn't give me the full confidence it will stick the landing. And if it does fail to do well, how much more damage can it do to the Star Wars brand? If somehow this show is phenomenal though, it won't change the trajectory of the franchise in my opinion. It'll be a nice little win for the studio and the creatives involved, but there is much more to be done with future projects to save the franchise. I hope this can be its own thing and be enjoyable to watch. Until I watched the first 2 episodes, I wasn't excited. I wasn't even going to cover this honestly, but I wanted to share at least something on this for the channel. I plan to do my breakdowns of episodes and maybe theories very soon, so be on the lookout for that. I think the kids vibe is a good thing for this show so far. But there are 1 to 2 things that make me think Lucasfilm still hasn't learned their lesson with handling the franchise and relying too much on nostalgia. The first is about the influence of KB's look. I want to thank Star Wars Meg for pointing this out. She's been having great coverage of this show and all things Star Wars, so I encourage you to check her out if you haven't yet. It came out that KB's look was inspired by Lobo in The Empire Strikes Back, and like Meg, I totally agree that while it's nice that Lucasfilm is taking inspiration from previous films and lore, they seem to keep missing the importance or details behind them. Lobo's backstory is honestly really sad and pretty dark. Long story short, he allowed the Empire to implant a cyborg-like technology into his head, and this changed him almost entirely. Essentially, he was lobotomized and engineered to be efficient but almost emotionless. He left the Empire eventually, but it just seems the creatives love to reference details on a surface level. There are other species, for those who know the lore, such as the Miraluka, a species that doesn't have eyes like humans do, and therefore utilize eye coverings in their wardrobe styles. And the reference to previous Star Wars aesthetics and tropes, but without maybe truly understanding it or whatnot, is just a common issue with Lucasfilm under Disney. We saw it a lot in the sequel trilogy with the First Order just being a rehash of the Empire. The Clone Troopers, Starkiller Base, and I would say Snoke, but they brought back Palpatine to be even more on the nose of pulling from the old, but not truly making it into something new. For years, it's been that these creatives pull from old Star Wars movies, shows, or projects and think what they're doing is great, and conjures nostalgia. But to me, a lot of it falls flat, and shows how much they don't know or just how superficial it is. Star Wars referencing Star Wars in order to feel like Star Wars in crappy Inception-like tactic that it just ruins so much of new Star Wars. I mean, I understand that since Star Wars is so old at this point, it can be easy to actually reference itself to really pull at the member berries.
Remember Tatooine? Remember the torture droid? I remember Goonies. I loved Goonies. Remember Chunk? Remember the trash compactor? Oh, the trash compactor.
Wait a minute.
But audiences aren't into it anymore. I'm sure many of you can point out countless times where they pulled an idea from legends, old shows, and the movies where they half-assed it, or maybe should have used something better from the lore, but clearly they don't know the lore well enough to even do it right. To end this point, Star Wars has been beaten into the ground and doesn't truly resemble what it once was when it was under George, and I doubt it ever truly will get back to that quality again. But enough about that. Because while those are my concerns for the rest of the series, currently I'm happy with how they're handling things so far. The references in episode 1 and 2 to what has come before actually kind of work. I'll mention them more in my breakdown, but for now, it seems that the creatives actually did their homework and are utilizing the few connections they have to the rest of Star Wars very well. The aliens, some of the tech, and I hope more of the Old Republic information we'll find out, all are well utilized so far. So to finalize my points here, while I like the first 2 episodes a lot and am hopeful, even if this blows my mind somehow, I don't think this will save Star Wars at all. I think it's a step in the right direction, but there's a lot for Lucasfilm to prove moving forward. Within the show, I hope they can do something new that fits into the galaxy, but doesn't trash what came before. And I hope they truly understand the references they're making with their details and how important they are. And outside the show, with other news on other projects being poor overall, this show's potential success might get swept under the rug. Well, that's all for today from your favorite galaxy far, far away. What do you think? How do you feel about Skeleton Crew? Do you think it'll save Star Wars? I want to know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what I cover next. Until next time, may the Force be with you always.